Hey guys, it's Dan here and welcome back to another tutorial. In this one we're going to look at how to create a FIFA 18 Team of the Season style thumbnail. So for example, if you were asked to create a thumbnail with Courtois and Vardy without any text, this is the kind of thing I go for. So to start off, we're going to create a new document with width of 1280 and height of 720. And the first thing we're going to do is the background. So we're simply going to use the fill tool, and because it's Team of the Season we're going to go for a really dark blue here. So something like this. And we're going to put in the background some images of the players. So we can go to Google Images and we'll first get one for Vardy. We'll make sure it's good quality by clicking large, and this one looks good, so we will copy it and paste it into our document, zoom out and resize it until it fits, and that looks pretty good to me. And we're going to do the same thing with Courtois. And we've got large images chosen, and this one looks good, so we will copy and paste this in, make it a bit bigger so it fits the document, and move it over like this. And we're just gonna make sure that Vardy is positioned in a similar way, so we'll make him a bit bigger and move him to the side, just like Courtois. And then to merge these images, we are going to create a layer mask on Vardy by clicking this icon, going to the paintbrush, right click to make sure the hardness is down to 0 and choose a pretty big brush. That looks good to me, and we will change this to black. And then if you just brush over this part of the image, you can see that it disappears and shows Courtois. So that's kind of what we want to start off with. And we're going to select both of these layers and merge them with Ctrl E. And then what we can do is change the blend mode of the images to luminosity and bring down the opacity to about 20. And we're also going to add some patterns to the background. So we're going to use this brush pack. I'll leave the link in the description, and you can click here to access the Google Drive link. And we can choose a couple of brushes that we think would work. So we'll start off with this one, download it, and I think we also want to try this one. So I'll start off with those two. I'll drag this one into Photoshop like this, press enter, and I'll do the same for this one. So we want to start off with the circular one. We're going to double click on the layer and choose a color overlay and set that to white. And then we're going to set the blend mode of this layer to overlay. Actually, first you need to rasterize the layer style and then set it to overlay. And we can resize it like this. And I think I'll just bring down the opacity slightly to 60. And we'll do the same for this one. Double click, select a color overlay of white and rasterize the layer style, move it here, and we'll also duplicate it with Ctrl J and move it to this side as well. Set these to overlay and bring down the opacity to 60, and that looks good. So we've got our background done, and now we're going to get some cards to use. So if we go to this card creator, the link will be in the description, we will get the Team of the Season card for Vardy and click download. And we can do the same for Courtois. Download. And then drag these into Photoshop. And drag it in. Okay, so I think we want to make these both a bit smaller. So select both layers and just hold Shift and make them a bit smaller. You can also hold Alt to resize them from the center. So I think that size looks okay. I'll just move them down a little bit. And then we want to also get some images using Footy renders. So we'll start off with an image for Vardy. And search. So you can really choose whatever you want. I'll go for this one. So click it, press download, then drag it in. Press enter. And do the exact same for Courtois. Search and choose one that you want. We'll go for this one as well. Download. And drag into Photoshop. And we want to resize this one a bit so it's a similar kind of size to Vardy. And a bit bigger, I think. So that looks good. And we're going to put the images in the center and the cards the outside. So if we move Courtois over a bit like this, I think that looks good, and then make sure these images are centered. I think we'll move them over slightly and down a little bit. So there's the images in place, and then we want to do the same for the cards. So we'll move Courtois over. Actually, we can make the cards a little bit smaller. So decrease the size a bit and bring the cards over. And the exact same for Vardy's card. And then bring these below the players. So we might also want to add a little bit of a shadow to the players so they stand out from the background and the cards. So outer glow, an opacity of, we'll turn that down to about 25, and a size of around 40, that looks good. And we'll copy this, hold Alt and drag onto Vardy. So now you can see that it just sits off the cards a little bit, and I think that looks a lot better. So everything now is on the thumbnail. We just want to add a bit of lighting to make it look a bit more interesting. So we'll start off in the background, create a new layer above the images, and you want to get a soft brush and make it around the height of the thumbnail. And we will choose a light blue colour and just click it once in the middle of the thumbnail. And then we'll try changing the blend mode. So we'll see what looks good. I think colour dodge works there. That works quite well. And then we'll create another new layer. Make it even lighter this time. And we are gonna create a kind of glow around the images and the cards. So it's just rough, and just like that, So it's just roughly around the images. And we'll try a few different blending modes. I think we'll go with overlay for this one. And that looks pretty good. Now we can add a spotlight to the top of the image. So click it from just above the heads with a big brush. And that looks good. And again, we want to change the blend mode. We'll try linear dodge. And we'll also create a larger spotlight. And we'll set that to overlay. And just to make it a bit more interesting, we will add a inner glow to the images. So we'll group the cards and the images together, create a new layer, and hold Alt between the layer and the group to create a clipping mask. And then with a small brush on the same light blue, we will go around the inside of the cards and images to create this glow. And just go all the way around each card and image until we have something like that. And then we want to change the blend mode of this, and we'll see what looks good. So try color dodge. Yeah, I think we'll go for color dodge, but bring the opacity down to bring it down to 30. So that's what we've got so far. And just to improve the lighting a bit, we will add a spotlight to the bottom of the image. I'll choose a bit of a darker blue with another big brush and just click there at the bottom. And we will choose color dodge and bring that down to 60. So we can also add some more patterns. So if we take the patterns we took earlier, duplicate the ones in the corner, and set these to normal, we can change the color overlay to gold just to match the cards. So we'll try something like that. And we can just duplicate this to the other side as well. And if we bring these down below the image, then the image should overlay onto the patterns too. So that's everything for the thumbnail. We'll just add some adjustments now. So we will start with brightness and contrast. I usually up the contrast and decrease the brightness a bit. Then I go to curves and I drag an S curve, which is just really another way of boosting the contrast. I also then add a little bit of exposure. So bring the top up, the bottom slightly down, and this one a little bit up. Then I usually group these together and bring the entire opacity down to, let's say, 30. And then to finish off, I add some color balance. So you can just play around with the colors of the image. So I'll go a bit into cyan, and then obviously a bit into blue, and also a little bit into magenta. And just bring this opacity down a little bit. There we go, to 60. And then finally we'll just add some sharpness to the thumbnail. So we will group every layer with Ctrl G and duplicate it and merge with Ctrl E. And then we'll go to filter, and I use camera raw filter. So once that's loaded, I zoom in a little bit and go to these triangles, which you can then control the sharpening. So I'll bring the amount up to around 50, and I'll do the same with the detail to around 40. And here you can also make some other adjustments if you want to maybe decrease the temperature a little bit, just to kind of add a bit more blue into it. So I'll just decrease it to about -6. And I think that's all the changes I want to do, so press OK. And then you can see the difference it's made to the thumbnail. It's added a lot of sharpening, and you can just see the difference by hiding and showing the layer. So that is a simple Team of the Season style thumbnail. I've shown you how to add the images, the background, and make adjustments as well. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.